I'm here now with Nora, the founder of Collaboratio Helvetica, and we're talking about systemic change. Nora, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
We have a lot of great startups in the German-speaking area around the world that are working hard on products, on changing things, for example, when it comes to sustainability, equality, in a way that you can see, in a very tangible way. Tell me about systemic change and what you do and what your approach is.
Gladly. So definitely there are many people working on solutions to the challenges that we're facing, which could be, for example, if we look at plastic technologies and processes to clean up the oceans, right? So to get the plastic out of the oceans. And I think it's amazing that more and more people are doing that and are focusing their creative energy and what they want to have found, if they're the social entrepreneur type of person, on solving this social or environmental challenge. However, I think what we are kind of trying to put the attention to is that if we only clean the oceans, we can do that for the next 100 or 200 years without actually solving the core issue, right? So my work is focused on systems change, systemic change, where we try to really address the root cause. So how can we have a paradigm shift, a shift, for example, that makes the change from a linear to a circular economy, and where there is no such thing as plastic or as waste that would end up in the oceans.
That sounds very political almost, but you do have an entrepreneurial approach. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, definitely. So what we try to do now is that we noticed what's really missing is cross-sector collaboration. So there are really not enough spaces where we come together around the complex issues that we're facing. Because we've kind of seen, I think by now, that politics alone are not able to really solve the issues, right? They're in their own polarization and stalemate. We also see big business really struggling and increasingly, I mean, we've just seen it this week, right? Failing at rates that we completely did not expect, right? Just a few years ago. So there's kind of this question of like, how are we going to solve these complex issues? And there's not one clear answer. So I have to really point out that this is a new field, an emerging field, where the people who are trying this are doing pioneer work, are learning as they go. And so what we offer is to bring the sectors together, to bring collaborators together in what we call social innovation labs. So they're processes where people who completely disagree, have completely different views on the topic, but are part of the same ecosystem, can find a way over time to listen to each other, to understand each other's perspectives and develop solutions. But the solutions may then either be accepted much more quickly because they're actually endorsed by everyone and co-created, or they may be of a different kind. They may be, we need to change this law, or we need to change how we relate to each other. We need to create a new role in the system. So these are all options that could come out.
But talking about emotional realities, tell me about your emotional reality and tell me about coping with all of these things, because I'm assuming it's really demanding and taking a lot out of you.
Absolutely. I think most of the people listening to this, if they are, leaders, particularly founders, we know that it's very challenging. We know that the burnout rates of this group of people is incredibly high. And we know that when we combine this with people who do something because they really care about it, because it's a social or environmental issue, it's even higher. And then the added problem when we look at systems change is that the whole context is geared towards symptom fighting, right? That's where the funding goes, that's where the media stories tend to go. A nice exception here, by the way. That's where like just the general pressure and movement goes. And so when you go by doing systems change work so much against the grain, and you always have to argue and justify and fight to get funding to even be able to do this work, that really takes a toll on you. And so I've been very open about this in the past, that I had a burnout last year, and I've probably been carrying this with me for years. Like the psychiatric term was like chronic depression, right? Which means a depression that holds on for 2 years or longer. And that was for me a big wake-up call, and realizing, even though I had been talking about this in the past, and self-care, and even my TED Talk was a little bit about that you have to work on yourself and you have to take care of yourself. And I knew this cognitively, but still like actually bridging to really embodying it and really prioritizing also myself and not just the work that I do and the impact that I want to have. That's been very challenging for me, and something I think I'll be working on for a long time, if not my entire life.
Maybe as a last question, is there any kind of relevant message or a key message that you would like to share with founders, for example, who find themselves in a situation like this, being burned out, maybe having overworked themselves, overextended themselves in a way, maybe even emotionally, maybe I don't know if I can really achieve the change that I'm trying to make, or if it's good enough. Do you have any kind of like message for these people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely for me, reconnecting to my why really helps. Like reconnecting to why am I doing this work and realizing that I just care, and it's a big part of my identity. So that helps re-energize like the process of doing what I do. And at the same time, really also finding community and finding different resources, like different things work for different people. For me, it was, for example, art-based processes, which I'm excited to pursue also in the future. But people might find different things, might find meditation, might find time in nature, right? There's a number of things that help, but to really prioritize that and realize that if I don't do this work, if I don't take care of my needs and also the needs of the people around me, then I cannot sustainably do this work over time. Potentially starting to work with a systemic mindset could also help, because when I look at my system and not just this is my company or my organization and my solution, suddenly new opportunities open up, because I realize I'm not alone, right? The key part of systems thinking is understanding we are on the same team. We're shooting for the same goal. And if I know what is my position in that system and what's yours, then maybe I can collaborate with you in a way that creates so many synergies and we're much more efficient. So next to taking care of oneself and really making sure that we are sustainable in the way we do this change work, also learning about systems change and system thinking could potentially be a way where we are able to see more opportunities and kind of be more not just efficient but also joyful and creative as we work towards our shared goals.
Thank you so much for sharing, Nora. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.